Well, this is Betting Weekly Premier League show. You're with myself, Dan Roebuck, alongside me, Nigel Seeley and Jack Wright, off the back of a super Sunday, nearly a sweep, where the boys went 3 winners from 4. The less said about Saturday, the better. Nigel, how are you? 2 really good selections from yourself yesterday. And I think, didn't you say when we were talking last week that, look, Arsenal and Liverpool, you take the double. Yes, they're short prices. They both got the job done. Prices for the title haven't changed that much anyway, but Arsenal and Liverpool keep up the gallop.
Yeah, they had to get the win, and they've got to get the win this midweek as well to keep the pressure on Manchester City, who play on Thursday. So a massive weekend. Last week it was a good Sunday, as you said. The Saturday read in the Luton game, like I said, that was just very badly wrong from us. But we made amends for it on the Sunday. A good win. Unfortunately, that Ollie Watkins couldn't score.
Can't believe he didn't score.
Yeah, 3-1, didn't score.
2 assists, man of the
bad.
match.
It's bad for us as well this week, but also bad for my futures as well. So, yeah, that was the only sort of downside on what was a superb Sunday.
Jack, we talked a lot over the last few weeks on a lot of our shows about fatiguing players when they're playing in European games and playing at the weekend. Pep Guardiola went on a bit of a rant, didn't he, after the Man City game against Chelsea, saying that all these players were heroes for getting over the line. In hindsight, should we have played unders in that game, or Chelsea on the handicap or something like that? I mean, it is a thing. And when Pep comes out and gives such a rant like that, we've got to take a bit of notice, I think, haven't we?
Well, yeah, I think in hindsight, I'd probably play 1-0 Man City, draw at half time. That's probably what I'd go with. But unfortunately, we don't have that tool to our disposal, do we? Unfortunately. But yeah, on the show, I said that I think Chelsea would give them a tough game. I said my lean was going to be a draw in that one. So it was kind of hinting towards that kind of game. And I felt it would be a lot tighter given the dynamics like we then talked about. City, very tough game against Madrid, and obviously the mental side of that, the rotation of City as well. The fact that at Wembley semi-final, that it did look like it could be a bit tighter than certainly than the other side, which was crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Well,
the thing
FA
is,
Cup...
sorry, Dan, just one thing. That Man City game, if Chelsea should have scored at least 2 goals. I mean, that Chelsea was better team. So many chances. It was a 1-0 win. I mean, we had the both teams to score in a sort of double as well, lean that I had there. I mean, that was unlucky not to cash. I mean, I think if you played that match back again, then there would be more goals than the 1 goal. Over 100 times, there'd be more goals than there would be the 1 goal in the match. But yeah, I was shocked that Chelsea. I thought Chelsea played really, really well actually, and they was unlucky not to win it. If they had a guy who could put the ball in back of the net, I think they would have been in the FA Cup final.
It's the theme of the season, isn't it? From the get-go, Chelsea were going, oh, they've had so many chances. They should have done that, And there's a few sides like that you go, well, it's got to change for them. It's been a bit like a Brighton over the last couple of seasons with a few sides that you go, they can't keep missing all these chances. But it's been like that. They can't keep scoring all these goals. And it's just been going on and on, hasn't it? But yeah, bonkers. It's mad.
Now, before we go any further, though, Dan, what the backdrop of Jack there? How professional is that? He set the bar very, very high, isn't it? Very fantastic. I thought Simon Holden was here then. Oh, it's fantastic. Look at that.
It is. I love that. I don't know how that's done. I haven't got the technological skills. Nigel, I knew Nigel, given the fact that you're struggling with your camera before, but yeah.
I had a weekend off. I just thought I'd paint my spare wall.
Yeah.
We do know the FA Cup finalists. Obviously, Manchester City will play Manchester United again. 500,000 matched on the exchanges in the UK at United, minus 2,000 or shorter, 105 decimal, 20s on. I mean, what is it with United, Nigel? It's just bonkers, isn't it? I mean, they're 3-1 to lift the trophy. City a minus 400. I mean, you can't back United, could you really, to win anything?
No. I mean, the amount of goals they concede, the amount of shots they concede, we're going to come on to their match a little bit later on. I mean, I wouldn't bet minus 400 anybody, really. It's not my kind of price. But really, I was chatting to a guy today about it, and Man United have gone absolutely massively backwards since last year's FA Cup final. And if they defend like they did and they give up the amount of shots they do against a clinical Manchester City, we could be seeing a very, very embarrassing FA Cup final. But it is a one-off match. It's a derby. We waited 100 odd years, didn't we, for the very first Manchester derby, and the 2 come back to back, which is crazy. But I mean, on the evidence of what we've seen so far this season, how can Manchester United keep a clean sheet against Manchester City? It's impossible. And we may have a very good FA Cup final, but on those betting, and I think really on the reflection, Man City should even be shorter than the odds you said there, minus 400.
Yeah, that's the prices at the moment. Be interesting to see what happens the day of the final. We're going to talk about Manchester United first. We've got previews and picks for all of the games. Well, previews for all of the games this midweek. We've got picks in a number of them. The Wednesday fixtures have got plays from Nigel and Jack. We're going to start with Manchester United and Sheffield United. This is 3 p.m. Wednesday Eastern. United minus 360. The Blades here 9-1. Draw plus 540 here. I mean, Nigel, is it that simple just to somehow side with Sheffield United or goals here? What's your play?
Well, I think it's very hard to make a case for both sides really on the money line. You would expect Manchester United to come through because Sheffield United, we said many times, Manchester United are a bad side, but Sheffield United are a terrible team. So that's the difference you have here. Sheffield United conceded 88 goals in the Premier League this season, and that is their big problem. If you look at Manchester United, though, the amount of shots they conceding, it's staggering. I mean, they've got a belief of going forward. Their matches are like basketball games. 28 shots there yesterday and conceded 18 against Coventry in the Championship side. 3-0 up, 3-3. If it wasn't for a very sort of dubious VAR decision, the Championship side would have been in the FA Cup final. Every cross that comes into the ball, they look petrified. The goalkeeper looks, I don't know what's he's about. I mean, he does these tremendous shot stops, saves across the box, but then he just has howlers. If you look at Manchester United, I mean, they've drawn 5 of their last 6 matches, but they've conceded 15 goals in those games as well. That's a big problem to conceding that many goals. Sheffield United have conceded 22 goals in their last 7. They've scored in 11 goals in their last 6 matches. Sheffield United, they're averaging 2 goals per game, and they haven't won 1. So that shows you where these problems for both of these sides lie. They both got goals in them, but they both concede at an alarming rate. Shots are being conceded, goals are being conceded. Sheffield United played a part in a 4-1 defeat against in the weekend against Burnley. Sheffield United have scored 5 of the last 6 matches in Sheffield United games. Both teams have scored, so we can see that Sheffield United have got goals in them going forward. They've got Brereton Diaz who's come in and changed it around, given a bit more of a threat up front. But defensively, their defense is about as much use as a chocolate fireguard. So you've got to the fancy goals here, and I just think the bet for me is an obvious one, but it's both teams to score. Yes, I mean the amount of goals Manchester United conceded is alarming. Every single match they've conceded goals currently against teams even lower, in the league table than Sheffield United, obviously the Championship side in the FA Cup there. But I just think there's goals in this match. I mean, we could quite make a case for over 2.5 goals and Man United to win. I think Man United will probably edge it, but I can see this being a 4-2, 5-2 kind of match. Manchester United, that's the games they play at the moment. You would probably expect a little bit better odds than the current odds. I think it's minus 140. Is it minus 140? The both
teams to score, yeah.
Yeah, minus 140 currently. You would, you probably would look a little bit more because you're looking at a side like Sheffield United thinking they're bottom of the table. I would want a little bit more. But when you just look, the amount of opportunities Manchester United give up is that of a team that are relegation threatened, not a team that are 7th or 8th in the table. So I just think this has got goals in it. You could bet over 2.5, but it's very low in odds. You could bet over 3.5. I think you might have some value in that. But I just think it's best to have them both teams to score play here because every match that Manchester United take to the pitch, they look like they're going to concede. And Sheffield United conceded 88 goals, as I said, this season. But they have started to find goals at the other end. And I think that will continue. Both teams to score, yes. Minus 140, my first pick of the midweek.
The over and under line is set at 3.5, and over 3.5 is minus money. Would you believe? Jack, variation on a theme for you. You are including both teams to score, yes, but you're going to up it a little bit to squeeze some more value or at least a bigger price out of your play.
Yeah, it's just an extension of everything that Nigel's now said, isn't it? And I'm adding over 2.5 goals to both teams to score to get us a price of minus 125. My initial desire was to play the goal line here, straight up goal line. Obviously, we set our ideas of what we're looking at as far as the line and the price is concerned. And as you rightly say, over 3.5 goals was the line, is the line, and it's minus 106. Didn't really get the juices flowing, to be fair, but Bet Rivers believe there's going to be 4 more goals in here. They make it minus money. I tend to agree with them. I think they will, obviously, for all the reasons that Nigel's just now said. But I didn't want to really take it on at that price. So do I think Man United are going to win 4-0, 5-0 to get the goal line in, but without both teams scoring? No, I don't. I don't think they can keep a clean sheet against pretty much anyone. So throw both teams to score in. we can then drop that line to over 2.5. That does then get a 2-1 onside, should it be something like that. But as Nigel said, those are the kind of scores that I had in my mind, but we're getting a decent safety net on it in case it does fall a little bit short. But yeah, both teams to score, absolutely. 3-0 up against Coventry, as Nigel said, 70th minute. You think cruising. Oh no, not this Man United side. They'll find a way. And 3 goals against the Championship side. Look, they're a nice, tidy, decent. I don't want to be disrespectful to Coventry, but they're a side that are unlikely to get in the playoffs in the Championship. They're going to finish probably 7th or 8th, something like that. So, a decent little side, but this isn't a side that should be going and smashing 3 goals past Man United in the final 20 minutes of an FA Cup semi-final, but they did, and were close to winning it in extra time. But that's the 8th match this season that United have seen 6 or more goals, which is a crazy amount of numbers. And so this particular bet, over 2.5 goals and both teams to score, has landed in each of their last 4 games across all competitions, and in 14 of their last 19 in all competitions. That's 74% of their games that they've played that has seen this bet land. So it's crazy. And say Sheffield United, much of the same kind of stuff. They exited last chance saloon at the weekend, didn't they? That was their final attempt at trying to do anything this season, and have gone away pointless and hopeless, really, to be perfectly honest. But they are causing a little bit of a threat up front with, say, Brereton Diaz combining there with McBurney. It's a bit ugly, but it's kind of working to some degree. 88 goals conceded. There's now 1 short of that record, isn't it? A 38 game season record. So they're going to go past that without a shadow of a doubt in this game. And then it'll be see if they can not get to 100. But I think they probably will fail in that endeavour as well. So this bet for them cashed in 5 of the last 6.
So we like over 2.5 goals on both teams to score. Yes, for Jack's bet, slightly bigger odds at -125. Let's get to Palace, Newcastle next. Again, 3 p.m. on Wednesday. And again, the boys have gone for similar selections here. Palace, of course, who won at Liverpool and then beat West Ham last time out. There has been money for Palace this morning. Just before we get into your selections, Jack, I mean, look, Newcastle were -120 for this game last season, and they're +143 at the moment. Is this Newcastle regressing quite a lot and Palace getting a little bit better? Do you think we'll see something better with Oliver Glasner at Palace?
Absolutely, I do. Yeah, we've touched on him a few times since he's been in his relatively short spell at the club. I think he's been featured probably 4 or 5 times in that spell. But I certainly would tell you what, if it was the same odds this time around, I'd be all over Palace at that price. But they were kind of a side that I had thought about taking on here. I had a price in my mind that I'd be looking for to beat Newcastle. It fell short on that. It's not really what I was looking for there to pull the trigger on it. But I certainly like the goals line in this one, and that's the play I'm taking. Over 3 Asian total is my bet here at plus money, +110. I like that a lot.
Okay,
and,
well, you can. I'm going to say you can do the heavy lifting first, and then Nigel can chip in because Nigel's got a similar bet. But +110 for Asian over 3. On you go.
Yeah, simply like Glasner has come in and I say won a couple of games as far as Burnley, then Liverpool, and obviously then now the best, probably most convincing, well, certainly the most convincing one at the weekend, that 5-2 against West Ham, which was brilliant. They looked electric, I thought, Palace. I don't know if Nigel was your brother, obviously is a Palace man. Was he at the game?
Yep. Yeah. Very happy. Very happy with the performance. I mean, yeah. I mean, he looks a breath of fresh air, but we'll come on to the arguments why I like here. But I think Glasner's changing it around at Palace, and Palace has always been, it was quite hostile under Roy Hodgson because they didn't play the football that they wanted to see. A bit like West Ham. West Ham like to play a certain way. Palace are very similar to that, but he's got the crowd behind him, and Selhurst Park is rocking again. The atmosphere at the weekend, my brother said, was the best of the season so far.
Yeah, and I think we talked about their key men, Ezer, Elise. They were both on fire at the weekend, and he's got a way of getting them into the side, hasn't he? Oh, he's obviously a fit, but he's got a way of actually utilising them to their max. And a goal and assist for each of them. I thought Ezer looked superb. That the confidence to take that strike that he scored with, ever hasn't seen it, a kind of acrobatic scissor kick. That's not just got in as it is, absolutely flying in, roof the net. Shows you his confidence at the moment. And I love that little ball for the Mateta's second goal, the little nutmeg on Zuma. And what really did catch my eye, because we know what Elise and Ezer bring to the table for Palace, is the fact that Mateta's finally got that striker who's now got a bit of confidence. He's obviously got 2 guys that are behind him that are giving him some firepower, and he's got the confidence to take it. And that goal, when strikers off form or out of confidence, he'll slash at it and you can see it go either straight at the goalkeeper, wide over, or whatever. But he just took his time and then passed it into the net. So that was very impressive on that side of things. Looks simple, but I think those sort of things that make the difference. And yeah, I just think like the way that Glasner's come into the side, the high aggression, the press that they've got there, the high wing backs, everything about it is just showing intent. And that Palace are actually a front foot side now, an aggressive side. And he's showing that and his fingerprints all over this side now. And they're beginning to show exactly what he's wanting from it. And he's going to want that to continue till the end of the season. So, and obviously they're up against the Newcastle side here. We know what we get. They're out of the running, I'd say, now for the Champions League because of the coefficient. But that European spot's still there as far as the Europa or Europa Conference League is concerned. It's going to be a three-way battle, I'd say, for those positions. And last time we saw them out, again, very impressive. But it was like, 10 days before this game kicks off because they were off at the weekend. And that was a 4-0 win against Tottenham. But away from home, pretty dodgy. Only 4 wins, 9 defeats. So Palace will know they're there to be got at. But what we get from Newcastle's goals, isn't it? 19 of 32 this season in total across all venues has seen over 3.5 goals, which is obviously to get the full cash on this bet. And 10 of 15 away. We've touched on them before. They average 3.87 goals per game away from home. Only West Ham have now got a higher average, but that's only because Palace stuffed 5 past them at the weekend. And Palace under Glasner, 18 goals in the 4 games that he's taken charge there, averaging 4.5.
So those are the numbers from Jack. Nigel, what have you got to add to that? What is your bet? Because it's slightly different.
Yeah, I've gone for a lower goal line, so 3 won't be a loser for me. Sorry, 3 will be a winner for me. I've gone for over 2.75 on the Asian line, which is a half your bet on 2.5 and the other half on 3. So it's a little bit low odds, -122, but it's a little bit of a protection on the 3 goals. I just think that, we talk about the odds of Palace compared to this season, compared to last season. I think Newcastle pretty much I don't think they're much off the pace on where they were last year. But I think this is all to do with Eze and Elise. I don't believe there's 2 more influential players to any team in the Premier League than these 2 are to Crystal Palace. I think if you take key players out of any side in the Premier League, they've got players coming in. But I think these 2 are world-class players in a bang average Premier League side. And when they're together, they are electric. And when they're on it, they're as good. Both of these players are good enough to play to any of the teams in the top 4. I'm a huge Eze fan. I'm a Queen's Park Rangers fan. I've seen him play at the club for 3 or 4 seasons. And what he was doing there was sensational. And I honestly believe this boy is probably the most gifted English player we have. I think, at the time, people used to compare him to Jack Grealish. He's gone up a level now and he's taken on responsibility. Whether he can go to a big club and do it and be the main man, I'm not sure. But I think he's electric. He's come on so much this season with Wilfred Zaha going. That means he's the main man at Crystal Palace. He was the main man at QPR. And I think when these 2 are on it, they are just, you pay your entrance fee to watch these play. The way as he glides, Elise is brilliant. And I think that makes this side different. And the Glasner's been so lucky that he's come into this team with Eze and Elise fit. We saw the former Crystal Palace at the end of the tenure under Roy Hodgson. They were shocking. But Roy was so unlucky that these 2 players weren't there. And that's what the player that didn't like the performances. Now Glasner's come in, as Jack said, 8 matches in charge, 25 goals in those 8 matches across both, averaging 3 goals per game, 18 goals in the 4 home matches that he's been in charge. And the Palace fans are excited again because they're seeing great, attractive football. If you look at the last 6 matches between Crystal Palace and Newcastle, 5 of them from both sides would have cashed over 2 3/4 goals, just the 1 loser. In terms of Eze for Crystal Palace, you've got Isaac for Newcastle, who's absolutely on fire as well. They've got goals in them. The reverse fixture was 4-0. So Newcastle won 4-0 and it cashed over there. But I just think the way that it is at Selhurst Park at the moment, the confidence these 2 have and the swagger they have about them, and Newcastle coming here with equally full of confidence as well. This will be a really good end of season game. We see goal lines go up. As we said last season when we were doing these shows, towards the end of the season, the last 4 or 5 games, the goal lines gradually go up. This season has been a season like no other in terms of goals. So if you imagine them going up, then you could be cashing it over 6.5 in the way the season's gone so far. So with the goal going up, in terms of, Palace, nothing at all really to play for apart from just going out with swagger. And you've got to look at Elise and Eze and think, will they be at Crystal Palace next season? I'd be very surprised if both of them are there. I think one of them will go with it, and two of them could potentially go. So it's an opportunity for these two guys to really show one of the big clubs in the Premier League. They could walk into any team, I believe. I think they could walk into an Arsenal. I think they could walk into a Chelsea. I think they could walk into a Tottenham. Man City's a different thing. Liverpool's a different thing. But I think that kind of team, these two are good enough to go in anything. And I think with those two in the side, they offer Palace so much of attacking threat. Newcastle will come in. Eddie Howe will play an attractive game of football. And I think this lends itself to goals. So over 2.75 for me, a little bit lower odds, -122. It will be a half a win if it's 3 goals, and the other half will be a push. And that's why I've done it. So to get a winner on this bet if it's exactly 3.
Goals we fancy at Sellers Park in the game between Palace and Newcastle. Merseyside derby, Everton versus Liverpool, Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Liverpool short price favourites at -220. Everton are nearly 6-1 on the money line. Massive win for Everton against Forest on a Sunday. But Rodale luck in terms of 1 or 2 decisions. Nigel, Forest weren't happy about that, but it suited our purpose because we had a 2-unit play on the unders. Liverpool still in the title race. How are we assessing the last Merseyside derby of the season?
Well, that was a huge move, money line move on the and at the end of the draw, we highlighted at +270. That went off at +230. So there was a huge money line move towards the under 2.5 goal after what happened at the Luton match, and obviously the draw price moved as well. So we not only did we cash, we also beat the closing line quite easily on that bet as well. So that coming in for us, not in a Forest. I mean, it's petty, isn't it? It's absolutely petty. I mean, they missed chances. They're in a predicament not because of a referee decision or a penalty they could have had. It was just they're not playing well, not converting chances. It's childish. It's like, it's schoolboy stuff from a Premier League football club, which is just shocking, really, to be fair. With regards to Everton won that match 2-0, but with an XG of 0.42 and only 41% of possession. So that shows you that how really poor Everton are. I think that papered up the cracks, and the fact that Everton are pretty woeful as far as an attacking outfit. Calvert-Lewin come back, but I still don't think he's anywhere near the player was 4 or 5. Well, he isn't anywhere near the player he was 4 or 5 years ago. And I'm going to take Liverpool in -1.25. I wanted to take Liverpool -1, but it was a little bit too low. So I thought, okay, I was just going to go for it on the -1.25. And a couple of reasons why. Liverpool are unbeaten in 12 the last Merseyside derbies. The last 4 matches, not many goals in this derby. So last Merseyside. If you look at the trend, last 4 are under 2.5 goals. Of those 12, 8 have cashed under 4 over. There's been 9 draws in those 12 matches, and 5 of them have been 0-0. I would make a case. I could have made a case for under 2.5 goals in this match again, given the stats and the fact that Everton offer nothing. I mean, so I'm looking more for an angle of Everton to win 2-0, but there's a couple of reasons to Liverpool to win 2-0. But there's a couple of reasons why I like this bet. 26 matches this season on the road for Liverpool, and they've scored in every single one. They're the only team to do that, scored every single road match there. They've kept clean sheet. They failed to score at home rather than away. And I think that's because they like to play on the counter. They have so many attacking options. Jota come back the goal. They rested Salah and Nunes as well in that match. Now they can bring them back fresh. They've got so much attacking threat now, Liverpool, from every part of the pitch. And Everton don't have that. And that's the difference here. I mean, the match they lost against Crystal Palace, I mean, that actually they should never have lost that match, the amount of chances they had in that game. It will all come good. I think Liverpool need the win. They'll get the win. Everton just simply aren't good enough. Another thing that made me like this bet as well is the fact that the point that Jack made about Everton only ever winning at home to 0. It's gone back for such a long time. Well, there's no way they're going to keep a clean sheet against Liverpool, given the fact that Liverpool have scored 26 times in 26 matches on the road this season. So Everton only win to 0. Liverpool will not fail to score here. And I think that Liverpool will cover the spread. I just think that Everton are a very, very poor team. From an attacking offensive, they're probably one of the worst sides in the Premier League now. Burnley have started to score goals. Sheffield United are scoring goals. If you look at their data, it's really shocking as far as offensively. Defensively, we saw that they're capable of conceding many, falling apart like they did against Chelsea. And I just think Liverpool, with the extra need, with the fact that they've got all their attacking flair players back now, they've got an array of players. They can put any lineup they want, bring 3 or 4 players off the bench, and it's just the envy of what Everton fans need. They need a goal scorer desperately, and Liverpool have got 5 or 6 of them. So I'm going to go for Liverpool to cover the handicap, -1.25 at -106.
Wolves Bournemouth is also Wednesday, slightly earlier kickoff at 2:45. Wolves +170, Bournemouth +155. Was each a 2 not so long ago, but there's been a little bit of money for Anthony Iraola's side. The draw is plus 260 here. Bournemouth beaten by Villa, Jack, yesterday. Wolves patched up side, went down to Arsenal. I don't know what the injury situation is like at Wolves, Jack. Is it any better ahead of this game? What are we like in Wolves, Bournemouth?
From what's been said, it seems like it's a little bit better, but it couldn't get a lot worse, could it? To be fair, Gary O'Neill did mention it in a kind of fairly decent manner. He wasn't whinging too much, but just saying that they've struggled. They had 5 teenagers on the bench at the weekend against
Got a
Arsenal.
15-year-old on the bench.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? Really is. And a lad making his full debut as well in the starting 11. He said there was 10 senior pros that were able to give him 90 minutes. So bare bones, really, as far as that's concerned, which is a bit of a problem. From what he said, there's possibly a chance that Cunha might come back, and maybe Semedo. But the main ones they're missing are Pedro Neto, and I think a big miss for him is Craig Dawson, who's had that injury. Very experienced pro, but as a defender and also a threat in the other box, but an organizer as well as much as anything else. But certainly a strong, no nonsense defender. And I was close with Bournemouth. I thought with Wolves, how they are at the minute, so they are threadbare as far as the squad's concerned. I thought, can I get on Bournemouth here at a price? And I just felt that I couldn't pull the trigger given their away form. It is poor. Nigel touched on it in the last show. Why we went with Villa and cashed on that Villa play is that they are just, very, very poor on the road. Look, possibly they were going to spring a surprise. But in the end, I've gone with, I was going to look to avoid a scorer this week, but I've gone with one, and I've gone with Dominic Solanke for 2 or 3 reasons. Of course, he's in good form. I think Bournemouth are going to have a good chance of getting something out of the game. And if they do that, then it's very likely that Solanke will be a part of that, hopefully by getting on the score sheet. So he opened the scoring at the weekend. He's obviously on penalties, as we saw at the weekend with that goal against Aston Villa. It's his 18th league goal of the season. So that goes without saying that he's in fantastic form. So Iraola has said about Bournemouth, their task now is to try and set their best Premier League record points total. However, that's by the by, isn't it? Are the players going to buy into that or not? We'll have to wait and see. But the one man in this Bournemouth side, certainly who's got his own personal targets and agenda, is Dominic Solanke. And they're twofold as far as I'm concerned. 18 goals, sits him just 2 goals off the top spot. Imagine a Bournemouth striker winning the Golden Boot ahead of the current leaders, for example, Erling Haaland, of course, and Cole Palmer. That would be sensational stuff for him. And also, a big personal driver, of course, is the European Championships coming up in the summer in Germany. And since we last talked about him and the possibility of him going, there's obviously been a bit of a change of dynamic because of the Ivan Toney situation. Back to him again. But of course, at that point in time, it looked like he was going to be the favourite to go if we are going to be taking 3 strikers. We know Harry Kane. We know Ollie Watkins, injury permitting for both those players, will be going. Do they take a third? If they do, who's it going to be? And I think at the time, it was pretty much certain that it was going to be Toney. But since then, not really scored goals. When he's played, he's been arguing with teammates. That is something that Gareth Southgate certainly does not like in the England setup. It's all about harmony and teamwork. And he's obviously been injured, apparently, sat on the bench and now completely out of the squad. So the opportunity is there for Solanke to say, well, look, I'm here. I'm a great team player. Generally got a smile on his face. He's that kind of character. Southgate knows him from his younger England teams. And I say he's doing everything he can do. Scoring goals. He scored 4 goals in his last 6 games. And he scored in a reverse fixture as well. So I just think that he has got that absolute driver to go on and keep scoring goals to get on that plane and certainly do the best he can to get on the plane. And the odds are plus 150. We've touched on this sort of thing before. I think it's a very good price for a striker in good form that's scoring the amount of goals that he's scoring in a game where I think there should be goals certainly for his side, and therefore he'll be part of it.
Solanke to score plus 150 is the price.
Just one other thing I just want to mention.
Nigel.
Just want to mention about that match is that I actually looked at that match and I was actually leaning towards Wolves rather than Bournemouth. And the reason why is that when you touch it is obviously the manager. The fact that he felt he was very, very he was. I mean, it was a disgrace that Gary O'Neill was sacked by Bournemouth last season. So when he looks at the fixture list on that match on the season, you might think, oh, it's a match that means nothing to these two teams towards the end of the season. But I can guarantee you one thing: Gary O'Neill has got a stock building at the moment. He's well thought of in the coaching world. He's potentially could be a man who can go on to bigger and better things. But when the fixture list come out, that would be one match that he'd be thinking, I'll tell you what, I'd love to get the number on those. And if you think the Wolves might be lacking motivation for that match, which a lot of people might do, looking at the fixture list and look at where they both are on the table, I don't think that will be the case. And I think the Wolves will be right at it. I know they've got an injury crisis, but it's funny sometimes with football how players return for big games. And I think that Gary O'Neill will be absolutely well up for beating Bournemouth. And I was actually thinking about betting Wolves and we know they're very good at home as well. They're very good. They only usually get beat by the better teams, as we saw in Arsenal at the weekend. But if anyone thinks that Bournemouth won't be up for the challenge here, Wolves won't be up for the challenge here, I think they will be.
I think it's going to depend on team news. I was the Molineux at the weekend. Sarabia came on late, didn't look fit. Lamina came on, was it at half time or early on in the second half, and didn't look 100%. So as Jack was pointing out, Gary O'Neill's got players that he might be able to use for 45 minutes, for 60 minutes. That might be enough. As far as our bet's concerned, of course, we just need Solanke to score. But I think it'll be interesting to see who he starts with.
But I mean, if you look at their league table, these two sides, and you say, right, okay, how would you bet this match on the league form, and how would you bet this match at the start of the season? What price would the Wolves be to win this match?
But
Wolves, minus 110.
Well, maybe, but Wolves has got. We've gone through a range of emotion with Wolves because at the start of the season, when there was FFP looming, when Lopetegui went before a ball was kicked, we were quite down on Wolves. Gary O'Neill came in, did a great job. Had that purple patch in the autumn and again earlier this calendar year. But the way that they have swung from being, a side that we wanted to go down and then one that we thought might, win anti-post handicaps for one or two punters, it's incredible the way that they've changed. I mean, I think that the way the market's gone as well is interesting because when I put the running order together, Wolves were favourites and now they're not. So there has been a bit of money for Bournemouth. It might change around.
Yeah, I just think the lines move too much. That's my bit. And they beat Wolves last year. They beat Bournemouth
earlier this season. Yeah, I mean the Gary O'Neill thing's interesting because there was a big thing in UK television about the way that he took apart Areola's side, and he was lauded for that. So it is a thing. Anything else on this one, Jack?
I was just saying they're right close together in the table as well, aren't they? There's like a point separating them. I was just looking to see where it was. I knew they were close, but it is a point. Wolves 11th and Bournemouth 13th. I was also looking to see who the referee was. If it does get a bit spicy, it's Stuart Atwell. I don't know who he supports. Do you?
Dear, Luton fans look away now, or Forest fans look away now. Right, two more games just to get some leans from before we wrap things up. Arsenal-Chelsea's a Tuesday fixture, 3 p.m. Arsenal minus 186, Chelsea plus 475. 2 years ago, Chelsea were minus money for this game. Times can change quickly. Arsenal, Nigel, pretty professional, I thought. Wolves, I mean, any leans on this one at all? Any way that potentially there's an angle in?
I didn't think Arsenal played well against Wolves. They did the job, and got the timings of the goals was brilliant, right? At the end
it was. Just before half time was kicked.
Yeah, I just thought they just did what they had to do. Wolves really didn't offer much. The team news, as you said there, the injury crisis they had there helped Arsenal before a ball was even kicked. But one thing you're going to find, that Chelsea are going to fancy this. I think Chelsea Chelsea fans this is their season now. They're out of everything, but they don't want Arsenal to win the Premier League. They don't want Liverpool to win the Premier League either. So I think they will love to be able to stop Arsenal here. And I got a feeling here. There's a couple of angles I like here. I thought Chelsea were excellent against Man City. I mean, Nicholas Jackson is absolutely useless. I mean, he's terrible. The amount of opportunities he had in his final ball was shocking. If they had a top-notch goal scorer, Chelsea would have won that match. I know Cole Palmer is in the side of scoring goals, but I mean, an out like Salah or
Nkunku.
They would have won that. They would have won that match. I think Chelsea would do well next season. I think they'll be all right. If they can keep Pochettino, I think they're a young side. I think they'll do all right next season. I think they'll challenge again. Not to win it, but Champions League, I think, will be on them. But I got a feeling in this match. The one I like here, I think that match, that Man City semi-final, how there was only one goal in it. Prior to that match, I think it was in the last 8 Chelsea matches, there's been 35 goals in their matches, averaging 4.3 goals per game, 4.4 goals per game. So I think you might get back to goals here. I think this could be an end-to-end match. I think Chelsea will score, and I think Arsenal will have to really go out and dig deep here. And I think it's a tough ask for Arsenal. I really do. But the other thing I like here is it reminds me a little bit of the Chelsea-Tottenham match. Remember when Pochettino had the Chelsea team fired up for the match against Tottenham, when Leicester won the Premier League, and Tottenham come out and it ended up in a free-fall. And I just got this feeling that Chelsea might just go out and try to like mess this up and be a bit feisty. I think Pochettino, with his Tottenham connections, will also want to stop Arsenal. Chelsea fans, and I've got a feeling this will be very, very feisty. So I know there's not many booking markets available with some states across America with Bet Rivers, but if you can find a booking market over 5.5, over 4.5 bookings, even a red carded game, I think Chelsea will one battle, one last match. They'll be so disappointed that they didn't get to the FA Cup final. I think they'll look at this and think, you know what, let's just go out on a high here. But I think goals. We're going to come on to the other game in a minute, but I think goals, and I've got a little angle on the goals, but goals and definitely cards.
All right, Jack, quickly on Arsenal Chelsea.
Yeah, I wanted to play over 2.5 goals and both teams to score in this one, actually, because I thought the price would be set given Arsenal's defensive record, but I couldn't get it in at the price. I didn't want to go any more than that, but wouldn't surprise me again for it to cash, but not to make it as an official play. Big game for Chelsea, though, isn't it? Obviously, big game for Arsenal, but you look at Chelsea, they are only 3 points off sixth, and they've got a game in hand. So they can get a positive result out of this, then it's going to give them a chance of qualifying for Europe come the end of the season. So still a bit to play for. Yeah.
Yeah, Chelsea potentially with a conference place or maybe even a Europa League place, depends on who wins the cup, of course. Finally, Brighton Man City, which is a Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Brighton plus 550. Man City very short, minus 230. It'll be the walking wounded for Pep Guardiola if we're led to believe that his team are out on their feet. Should we lump on Brighton here? 5.5 to 1 or so. Nigel, any lean to this one?
Again, goals. I think there's goals in this one. I think Man City, whoever they put out, will score goals. Haaland was being rested. He might come back fresh. He might be rested again. Alvarez, the Foden, even Foden, a couple of goals. He could be going for the top goal scorer in the Premier League again. That's how close it is at the top there. They know exactly what they've got to do. They've got to win, and I expect them to win this match. But I would probably go for over 2.5 goals again. Over 2.5. Both of these matches are over 3.5. But on Bet Rivers, you can move the little widget down to 2.5 or 4.5, or whichever goal line you want to play. And the parlay over 2.5 goals in Arsenal, Chelsea, and in this one here, Brighton against Manchester City, does make appeal to me at plus 116. So I think I'd probably go for over 2.5 goals in both.
There you go. That's the Tuesday and the Thursday games. We like a little cheeky parlay over 2.5 in both. It's plus money. Over 3.5 is plus 115 for Brighton Man City. Are we seeing goals here, Jack? Last call from you. Any leans for the game at the Amex?
Yeah, I think if you're a side that is worried as far as their team's concerned, Man City should be quite low down that list, should they? With who they're going to rotate in and out of it. I'd fancy City to win it. I think they might win this 1-0. I'll be honest, I don't know the prices on that one. It was a game I kind of opted out of seeing the basic lines. So I didn't have a strong enough fancy it when I fancied something else. But yeah, something along those. Yeah, maybe even looking at a Man City team total, because I think they can go, and Brighton aren't themselves at the moment. So I think City could do a lot of the heavy lifting as far as that goals line is concerned.
Interesting, Bingy. Some interesting games midweek. We'll see if the title race changes over the course of this week ahead of the weekend action. Best bets before we wrap up, Nigel. What's your best play that you've put up this midweek?
Over 2.75 goals, Crystal Palace, Newcastle, minus 122.
And Jack?
I'll go for the other one then. I'll go for Manchester United Wolves over 2.5 goals.
We can have another 2-unit play. I suppose we've got one anyway, but they're the best bets. Nigel, Jack, thanks for your company. Good luck with your plays this midweek. That is a wrap for this edition of Betting Weekly Premier League Show. We're back, of course, on Thursday. For now, though, from all of us, it's goodbye.